In the raging fire, my fiancé, who is an award-winning actor, rescued his first love while I huddled in the corner, silent, letting the blood under me keep flowing. All because in my previous life I called out his name in panic and he rescued me hesitantly. However, his first love suffered severe burns on her skin in the fire and was disfigured. Later, I learned that the actor participated in this variety show just for his first love. He hated me to the core. It's all your fault. If you hadn't threatened me with the child in your womb to make me save you, Julia wouldn't have been injured. You owe Julia. You should pay with your life. So, I was tied up by Serena and taken to the hospital, and all my intact skin was transplanted to Julia. I died in pain from the infection. When I opened my eyes again, I looked at the raging fire and smiled indifferently, allowing the flames to devour me. The fire began to spread on this floor. The cardboard boxes and iron racks piled up in the room started to fall with sparks. Julia and I were trapped on the balcony. The fierce flames in front of us were so terrifying that we didn't dare to take another step forward. I tried my best to huddle in the place farthest from the fire source. Because of the high temperature, my hair stuck to my body messily, and I looked extremely wretched. The camera not far away faithfully recorded all of this and showed it in the live broadcast room. Oh my God! Isn't this a variety show with a firefighting theme? How could there really be a fire? It seems that only Julia and Serena are on this floor. Where's Ryan? Your wife is about to be burned. Come and save her. Crazy. Putting out the fire is the firefighter's job. Ryan's face is so precious, okay? Even if just his finger gets burned, it'll be a huge loss. The barrage of comments scrolling rapidly in the live broadcast room was extremely lively. Suddenly, Ryan's voice came from the stairwell. Is anyone there? Say something. That figure, who had always been aloof and whose clothes wouldn't even have a single wrinkle, appeared so wretchedly from the stairs filled with black smoke. Everyone in the live broadcast room was shocked. Oh my God! With such a big fire, Ryan actually came. I'm so moved. Ryan has the worst obsession with cleanliness. He used to even quit the awards ceremony halfway just to go back and change clothes if the corner of his clothes got dirty. Alright, I accept Serena as my sister-in-law. After all, it's true love. The next second, Ryan looked up and saw Julia and me through the flames. Julia curled the corners of her mouth with a faint smile and whispered, Serena, guess which of us two Ryan will save? I didn't say a word because in my previous life, after Ryan saved pregnant me, Julia was forced to fall from the windowsill, broke her fingers, and suffered extensive burns on her body and could never play the piano again. Ryan hated me so much that regardless of my pregnancy, he sent me to the operating table for a skin graft operation for Julia, causing me to lose my child and my life due to the infection. In this new life, this time, I won't let Ryan save me like I did in my previous life. Instead, I pushed Julia forward a bit. Seeing this, Julia called Ryan's name pitifully. Ryan, I'm so scared. The next second, everyone saw Ryan, who had just announced our engagement news on the variety show, calling another woman's name with red eyes and a hoarse voice. Julia, Julia. Are you okay? Don't scare me. The humility in Ryan's words almost pierced through the camera and stabbed the hearts of all his fans. I watched indifferently as my husband and another woman staged a romantic scene like the one in Titanic in front of the camera, but my heart didn't waver at all. Since you two love each other so much, it seems that I was so blind in my previous life. Oh my God. Whose name did Ryan call? Julia? It's hilarious. Serena just said that she and Ryan had been in a secret relationship for 10 years and that they were deeply in love, and now she's slapped in the face in the next second. Is this a design of the variety show? Only I knew that this wasn't a special design of the variety show. I in my previous life, due to the mistakes of the staff of the program team, a big fire broke out on this floor. The distance between Julia and me wasn't far. Crash, a piece of wood with sparks fell from the ceiling and hit my shoulder hard. I trembled in great pain until I almost cramped. I subconsciously cried out in pain. Ugh. Ryan finally reluctantly took his eyes off Julia. He frowned and said, "Serena, you're just afraid that I'll save Julia, so you deliberately pretend to be injured and act pitiful, right?" Looking at his eyes that seemed to hate me so much, I felt it was absurd and ridiculous. The man who had shared the same bed with me for so many years actually thought of me like this. The exclamations of the staff came from downstairs. "Ryan! The fire is too big. Come down quickly." My face was terribly pale. I could feel that my lower body was wet. It was the child in my womb protesting. If I didn't call Ryan, our child wouldn't be saved. In my previous life, I called for help very early. Even so, when I was sent to the hospital, I had to take measures to keep the baby for half a month before the child was saved. But now I didn't want the child in my womb anymore. Once I thought that having Ryan's child could tie his heart to me. The audience in the live broadcast room were all holding their breath, waiting for Ryan to choose who to save. Julia glanced at me, bit her lip and advised, "Ryan, you'd better save Serena. She just told me that she sprained her ankle." Ryan gave me a disgusted look. "Serena, since you were a child, you've always been so scheming and don't know how many things you've snatched from Julia. Now you want to use this excuse to snatch Julia's chance of survival. Aren't you disgusting?" Being accused by Ryan in such a tone, I didn't feel anything at all. This is probably what it feels like when you no longer have expectations for someone and your heart is dead. Instead, I felt a bit sad. "Serena, the man you've chased for almost half of your life actually regards you as a vicious woman." I looked wearily at Ryan and Julia, who was looking smug beside me. Everyone was waiting for my next move. I guessed that Julia was just waiting to see my painful expression. She had always been like this since childhood. She liked to frame me in front of Ryan and wait for Ryan to stand up for her. When she saw my aggrieved and adoring expression when I was blamed by Ryan, Julia would smile at me smugly. Without even looking back, I leaned back and fell down amidst everyone's exclamations. This was the 5th floor. Although it wasn't very high, with my posture, I would definitely die. But I wasn't that stupid. I knew that at this time in my previous life, the firefighters had just set up the air cushion. After calculating the time, I fell into the inflatable cushion, and the huge elasticity blocked most of the damage. I fell from the air cushion to the ground, and the sharp pain from my body hitting the ground made me sober for a moment. My limbs were bent in a strange posture, and the child in my womb finally couldn't bear it, and blood flowed crazily from under me. In such pain, I could still clearly see that on the balcony on the 5th floor, Ryan carefully held Julia in his arms and turned to walk away from the fire. I actually smiled. The doctor beside me, who looked anxious, came over and asked me, "Are you okay?" I said in a calm voice, "The netizens who love the couple of Ryan and Julia are lucky." I was lying in the operating room. The doctor looked at me and for a rare moment felt a bit at a loss. After all, I was bleeding under me and needed surgeries in many parts of my body. The doctor turned around and went out with some difficulty. Ethan, our childhood friend, was waiting outside. The doctor said in a hurried voice, "Are you the patient's family member? The patient is pregnant, but her injuries are so serious now. If she has the operation, the child in her womb definitely can't be saved. Actually, even without the operation, with her current condition, the child can't be saved either. But we still need the family member to sign the operation consent form." Hearing the doctor's words, Ethan cursed angrily, "Damn it." Then he took out his phone and called Ryan. "Ryan, where are you?" Ryan's voice on the other end of the phone was gentle. "Julia, does it hurt?" Julia's voice was shy. "It's just a scratch. Only you think it's serious." Hearing this, Ethan was furious. "Ryan, are you even human? Your wife is being rescued in the emergency room, and you're flirting with another woman here." Ryan sneered, "Ethan, you're helping Serena do such disgusting things again. Besides, is Julia another woman? Didn't the 4 of us grow up together? You should know how important hands are to Julia, right? Her dream is to become the world's greatest pianist." Ethan wiped his face. "All right. You don't care about Serena, but you should care about your child, right? Serena is pregnant. She's having an operation now. To have the operation, the preoperative consent form needs to be signed. Her child can't be saved, Ryan laughed on the other end of the phone. Ethan, if you keep helping Serena with these things, we won't even be friends anymore. What? Didn't Serena tell you when she asked you to make up lies that we always took precautions? Even if she's pregnant, the child isn't mine. Then his voice was full of malice. Of course, I don't know if it's yours or not. Ethan looked at the doctor in front of him, whose expression was getting more and more anxious, and cursed loudly, Ryan, you're really a fucking bastard. Serena was blind to like you for so many years. She couldn't even dance anymore just to save you. After hearing what Ethan said, Ryan's voice was cold. Are you done? I'll hang up if you're done. I still need to change Julia's dressing. Ethan looked at the hung-up phone and cursed again, a bitch matches a dog. Serena, remember this. If you survive and come out of the operating room this time, don't like Ryan anymore. He rubbed his hands. Doctor, I'll sign. The doctor looked at him doubtfully. Are you her family member? Ethan said, her parents died early. She grew up in my family. I'm her brother. I was lying in the ward, feeling the little life in my body slowly disappearing from my womb, and I actually felt relieved, as if the shackles that had bound me for years had finally been unlocked. During the time when I was having the operation, there was also a huge uproar on the internet. Although I dislike Serena very much, don't you think Ryan has really gone too far this time? Yeah. He didn't save his own wife but saved a scheming woman. My heart tightened when I saw Serena jump from the building. After seeing these comments, Julia sat in the long corridor of the hospital, crying pitifully, Ryan, it's all my fault. I made everyone misunderstand you. I should have died in the fire. Ryan's eyes were full of gloom. He dialed Ethan's number and ordered, put Serena on the phone. Ethan was speechless. Are you crazy? I've already told you that Serena is in surgery. Ryan's voice was so cold that it made people a bit scared. Surgery? She's in surgery. Then who sent those comments online? Isn't it Serena who got someone to spread the news online and wanted to cyberbully Julia? Tell her that we're getting a divorce. This was the first sentence I heard after being pushed out of the operating room. Ethan subconsciously covered the phone in his hand and called my name worriedly, Serena. I calmly looked at him. I heard it all. I've experienced this kind of thing so many times that I didn't even find it strange. I've liked Ryan since I was a child. For his sake, I really endured a lot of grievances. Ryan actually liked Julia all along, and they were the first to start dating. But after 2 months, Julia got tired of it. Thinking that Ryan had no money, she came to me with a teasing tone, Hey, Serena, do you want my cast off? I was angry at Julia's description of Ryan. Ryan is not a cast off. Julia rolled her eyes. Whatever. Anyway, I'm tired of playing with Ryan. I was just worried about not having an excuse to break up with him. I drugged him. If you don't go there soon and he sleeps with someone else, he'll be with that person instead. I knew that I was being so spineless and humble, but after looking at Julia, I still went to find Ryan, who was drugged and out of his mind, and kissed him on the cheek with my lips pursed. Just like that, I slept with Ryan. When Ryan woke up, Julia appeared outside the hotel room door, looking hurt. Ryan, you actually betrayed me. Let's end it here. And just like that, Ryan naturally got together with me. But Ryan hated me. He thought that it was because I drugged him that he was forced to cheat and be with Julia, but every time I explained, Ryan hated me a little more. He only believed Julia. Ryan sneered, walked past the corner of the corridor with his phone in his hand, and just happened to meet me who was being pushed into the ward by the doctor. The doctor said with concern, It's Serena, right? You just had a miscarriage. You need to take more nutrition recently. It's best to let your family take good care of you. Ethan nodded repeatedly beside him. Ryan froze on the spot. For some reason, a burst of anger rose from within him for no reason. Serena, you bitch. You actually betrayed me. Ethan got angry too and rushed up to punch Ryan. Go get your fucking head checked if you're sick in the head. Serena likes you so much. How could you bear to say such things to her? The doctor continued, "You were already 4 months pregnant. Didn't you know? You even participated in such a dangerous variety show. You won't be able to have children anymore. Do you know that?" Ryan was stunned by Ethan's punch, but he still stood there, muttering, "For months." I closed my eyes and didn't look at him anymore. 4 months ago, Ryan came home drunk, pressed on me, called Julia's name, and had sex with me. That time, he didn't use a condom. Ryan walked forward uneasily for 2 steps, forcing himself to keep a calm expression. "Serena, were you pregnant?" "You were pregnant. Why didn't you tell me?" A sarcastic arc appeared at the corner of my mouth. "Didn't I tell you? I told you in my last life. In my last life, I called Ryan's name anxiously in the fire. Ryan, I'm pregnant. Save me. Save our child." Ryan stood in front of me, looked at the window behind him, and found that the firefighters had already set up an air cushion to ensure that Julia wouldn't be in danger. Then he walked through the fire, picked me up, and turned to leave, but who would have thought that when Julia saw Ryan leaving with his arm around me, she bit her lip tightly. No matter how the firefighters below shouted, she refused to jump down until the flames engulfed her. Ryan, who had just put me down downstairs, looked up and saw this scene. His breathing stopped for a moment. He didn't even look at me more and turned around to rush back into the building. The firefighters tried to stop him. "Ryan, the fire inside is too big. Some of our firefighters have already gone in. Non-professionals, just wait below." Ryan's eyes were red. He looked down at the firefighter blocking him. He said hoarsely, "I have to go. Julia will be angry." Ryan was so distraught that he was about to rush in. "She refused to jump down. She must be angry with me. It's all my fault. I always make her angry and make her leave me again and again." A row of firefighters blocked Ryan and wouldn't let him in. Seeing that he couldn't break in, Ryan just stood there straight. When Julia was burned beyond recognition, he followed her step by step. He had already forgotten my existence. Julia and I were sent to the hospital together. The doctors tried their best and finally managed to save my child. I lay alone in the hospital for a month before Ryan burst through the door. The first sentence he said was, "If it weren't for you, Julia wouldn't have been burned so seriously." I put my hand on my bulging belly. Ryan took a cold look at my belly but didn't care about our child at all. "Serena, you deserve to die, you and the child in your belly." In my desperate look, Ryan transferred me to a private hospital invested by the Ryan family and had me do a skin graft for Julia. In the end, neither I nor my child survived. My hand on my belly trembled slightly. I didn't regret losing this child. Instead of letting it be born in the hatred of its father, it's better if it never came into this world. I calmly said, "I was pregnant. Would it have been useful to tell you?" I looked into Ryan's eyes. "If I told you, would you have saved me?" Ryan was stunned on the spot by my look. It was as if I was going to tear his true feelings out. Ryan averted his eyes as if to escape. "If I had known. If I had known." But he repeated it for a long time and didn't say the sentence, "If I had known, I would have come to save you and the child." The heart that once beat for Ryan finally lost its last bit of warmth. I closed my eyes wearily. "Go away. Let's get a divorce." Ethan looked at me with relief, as if he had finally waited for this sentence from me. He followed beside the hospital bed and gave Ryan a disdainful look. "Let's go." Ryan stood there, watching my figure being pushed away. His usually tall figure bent slightly. Just looking at his back, it made people feel that he was like a helpless child. In the following week, I was recuperating in the hospital. However, the turmoil about me, Ryan, and Julia on the variety show was getting fiercer and fiercer online, especially since the live broadcast equipment wasn't turned off that day. The video of Ryan choosing Julia in the fire and me jumping off the building was taken out by netizens and analyzed frame by frame. Although I've always been against Serena, I really feel sorry for her this time. Didn't she just say on the show that she was pregnant? I didn't expect that Julia, who looks like a cool and elegant pianist, actually seduces other people's husbands behind their backs. Sorry, Ryan. Although I'm your fan, I really think you did wrong this time." Seeing the comments from netizens, my pursed lips gradually relaxed. After I chased Ryan and entered the entertainment industry, because of Ryan's seemingly casual care for me, in everyone's eyes, I had always been a person who got resources through connections. Even in the eyes of Ryan's fans, I was a scheming woman who forced Ryan to take care of me, relying on my family background. Since I entered the circle, I had been constantly criticized. I thought that I had developed a heart that couldn't be hurt, but when I saw that everyone stopped scolding me, I still secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Ethan cut a piece of apple for me and smiled indulgently. "I've always said that no one wants to be scolded. Are you happy to see everyone praising you?" I nodded gently. Since being reborn, the things from my last life have been like dark clouds hanging over my heart, always making me gloomy. Ethan tried every means to make me happy. "Serena, you don't look like the indomitable person you used to be. Who hurt you? Is it Ryan? Should I expose him for you?" I knew that Ethan was doing it for my good and I wasn't angry. There was just a bit of a smile in my eyes. "How are you going to expose him? He's a movie emperor, and you're just a firefighter. By then, you'll be scolded by Ryan's millions of fans until you're depressed." Ethan raised his head, looking rather smug. "That's impossible." Just as we were talking, Ethan's phone rang. He took a look at the caller ID, and his brows clearly furrowed. He's the kind of person who can't hide things. I could tell at a glance that it was Ryan's call. I smiled and pushed him. "Why don't you answer the phone?" Ethan wanted to close his phone. "I don't want to talk to him. I'm on your side." I laughed and scolded him. "Are you a primary school student? We all grew up together. There's no need to affect your friendship because of me. By then, Ryan's mother will go to complain to Ethan's mother, and you'll be the one who suffers." Ethan reluctantly answered the phone and also turned on the speakerphone. "By the way," he mouthed to me, "take a good look at this scumbag's true face." On the other end of the phone was Ryan's somewhat tired voice. "Ethan, where are you?" Ethan thought that Ryan was sad because of me. There was a bit of regret in his eyes. I should have known not to turn on the speakerphone. I watched Ethan whispering and thought to myself, "That's impossible." Ryan's next sentence really confirmed my guess. "Ethan, I remember there's a video on your computer." Ethan was stunned. "Which one?" Ryan's calm but certain voice came from the other end of the phone. "It's the one where Julia carried me out of the fire." Ethan looked at me in a panic and was about to turn off the speakerphone and walk out the door. I raised my hand and grabbed the corner of his clothes. My voice was soft. "Just talk here. It's okay. I'm immune to everything now and no longer afraid of any harm from Ryan." Ethan stopped in his tracks and sat on the hospital bed. His warm fingers gradually covered my hand. I subconsciously wanted to pull back, but Ethan held my hand tightly with his big hand. I lowered my head and felt a bit strange. For the first time I realized that Ethan's hand was very warm. Obviously we grew up together since we were children, but in my heart Ethan had always been carefree, as if he didn't care about anything. It's just that he always spoke up for me. Every time I was sad because of Ryan and Julia, Ethan was by my side. "It's the same this time. But it seems different too." Ethan's voice was calm. "Ryan, it wasn't Julia who saved you from the fire. It was Serena. That video was taken from a long distance. You might have mistaken the person." Ethan's voice carried a bit of contempt. "A woman like Julia, how could she possibly go into the fire to save you? Only Serena, that silly girl." Before Ethan could finish his words, Ryan's voice came from the other end of the phone. "Impossible." His tone was full of absurdity. "Ethan, it's okay that you've always liked to side with Serena since you were a child. But you can't be so blind to right and wrong, can you? The person in that video is clearly Julia. I even asked Julia, and she admitted it." Ethan held my hand a bit tighter and his face was full of impatience. Just as he was about to speak, Ryan on the other end of the phone said a series of things. "Ethan, this is urgent. Can you be normal? Do you know that the whole internet is cursing Julia now?" Ethan sneered. "I know. Isn't it right to curse her? Ryan, finally, God has opened his eyes and let your fans know what kind of people you and Julia are. I think the cursing is right. Ryan lowered his voice and it became cold and hard. Are you crazy? Don't you know how much Julia wants to be a pianist? Now that her reputation as a girl is ruined, what will she do in the future? Ethan, even if you side with Serena again, you can't be so blind to right and wrong, can you? Ethan's eyes were filled with a bit of anger and his voice seemed to be covered with ice. Ryan, don't you even know who you are anymore? Do you still remember that Serena is your fiancée? She lost a child because of you and can never have children again. Do you know that? Ryan was silenced by the question. After a long while, he said, I know. Since things have become like this, I'll make it up to Serena in the future. But Julia is different. Ethan scolded, Ryan, I think you're really obsessed. If you like that woman Julia, why do you keep Serena by your side? Julia can't be cursed? Can Serena be cursed then? Don't you remember how much Serena has sacrificed for you? I watched Ethan getting angry for me, but Ryan's words didn't leave a single mark on my heart. Only love can turn into hatred. When I think of Ryan now, I just feel strange. I held Ethan's hand back and said comfortingly, it's okay. I don't care anymore. Ethan turned to look at me and I actually saw a trace of grievance in his eyes, but I care. Ryan on the other end of the phone heard my voice and sneered, now I know why you didn't want to. So you two have been together for a long time. Ethan, do you even want the woman I've been with? People who don't know the inside story would think that I had hurt Ryan so much that he hated me so much. Ethan sneered, Ryan, shut your damn mouth. If you can't talk like a human being, just keep quiet. You want to know who saved you? Fine. I'll send you the full version of the video. I'd like to see if you, a bastard, have any conscience. With that, Ethan found the video from that year on his phone and sent it to Ryan. I looked at the video with blurry picture quality and my memory was pulled back to 10 years ago. At that time, Ryan just had a crush on Julia. He had been protecting Julia since he was a child, but Julia liked a young and promising president who had returned from abroad. Although he was said to be young, he was a whole 12 years older than us. To chase after that man, Julia took the three of us and secretly climbed over the back wall of the banquet hall. It was that time that the candlestick in the banquet hall fell and the fire started burning from the hall. Ethan and I dragged Ryan to leave, but Ryan was unwilling. He was afraid that something would happen to Julia, so he ran into the fire alone. Ryan didn't find Julia at all until he fell unconscious. Because Julia had already escaped with the man she liked, Lu Zhou. This banquet was held by Lu Zhou. Ethan and I wanted to call the police, but we were stopped by Julia and Lu Zhou together. Lu Zhou said that he still needed to open the business door of Heisher and he couldn't have such black marks on him. I looked at Julia's silent eyes, gritted my teeth, turned around and ran into the fire and carried Ryan out of the fire. This matter had always been our common secret. Because the four of us skipped classes together, later, Julia's family even used this as a bargaining chip and took 3 projects with the best development prospects from Lu Zhou's hands as compensation. Julia's mother came to me and said in a faint voice, Serena, you're just the adopted daughter of the Ethan family. You should know clearly in your heart what should be said and what shouldn't be said. I was different from the other 3 people. I had already lost my home and no one supported me. So everything that day, except for the 2 videos in Ethan's hands, became a secret. At the end of the video, there was Ethan's anxious voice, Serena. I looked up at Ethan and my gaze passed through the camera and landed on Ryan, who was now 28 years old. I didn't know how Ryan felt after watching this video. I just moved my somewhat hot hand and said, Ethan, I'm hot. But Ethan didn't let go of my hand. He looked down at me and his eyelashes seemed to be about to fall on my face. A faint blush slowly climbed onto my face. I thought my heart had already died with my love, but when Ethan looked at me, I still couldn't help but feel a bit more moved. There was confusion, bewilderment, and uneasiness in my eyes. Ethan understood my thoughts. He bent down and hugged me tightly. Ethan said, Serena, look back at me. I've always been by your side. The next second, Ryan kicked the door open and pulled Ethan away. His brows were furrowed unhappily. Ethan, how long have you been coveting Serena? Ethan provocatively curled his lips. For a long time. I've had my eye on Serena since I was a child. I'm not like you, a coward. You're like the little prince held in your mother's hands, wanting everything and refusing to let go of anything, but you don't do anything decent. Ryan angrily threw a punch and Ethan didn't give in to Ryan. The two of them immediately started fighting. I sat on the hospital bed and watched indifferently, but the panic that had just been stirred up by Ethan in my heart hadn't subsided yet. When Ryan called Ethan just now, he might have been in the corridor. I don't know how long he had been listening to me and Ethan talking outside until he couldn't help but rush in. After a few moments, Julia's figure suddenly appeared at the door. Julia's look at me was a bit gloomy and then she said in a pitiful voice, "Ryan, stop fighting. Be careful not to get hurt." Hearing Julia's voice woke Ryan up. He straightened up and wiped the bleeding corner of his mouth with the back of his hand. He was just a showy person who only exercised in the gym and had been filming in the entertainment industry. How could he beat Ethan? Ethan leaned against the wall behind him and raised his chin. "Well, what wind has blown you two, a bitch and a dog, here together?" Ryan's face turned ashen. He turned to look at me. "Serena, I was originally very grateful that you saved me, but you're with someone like Ethan. Whose child is in your belly, mine or Ethan's?" I sneered and said, "It's Ethan's, okay?" But hearing this answer, Ryan was unhappy again. He moved in my direction and there was jealousy in his eyes that he didn't even understand himself. "Didn't you say you loved me?" "Serena, you're such a hypocritical woman." I replied faintly, "Oh." All of Ryan's words were blocked by me. Julia looked at me and her eyes were full of coldness, but the words she said were gentle and considerate. "Ryan and I came here today to see you." I echoed without interest. Hypocritical? Wasn't Julia 10,000 times more hypocritical than me? Ryan's voice was a bit cold. "Julia is talking to you, Serena." I looked up and my voice was even colder than Ryan's. "Those who don't know would think the president is talking to me." "Ryan, how clearly do I have to tell you before you understand how disgusted I am with you now?" There was a trace of disbelief on Ryan's face. "You think I'm disgusting?" I tugged at the corners of my mouth. "It's more than disgusting. If I could get out of bed now, I could go and divorce you right away and give the position of your wife to your dream lover, your first love, Julia." Ryan stared at me fixedly. "What do you mean by that? Do you think our marriage certificate is in the way? Is it in the way of you being with Ethan? Julia, you're an orphan without parents. Only I'm willing to bear the pressure to be with you. Do you think it's so easy to enter the Ethan family?" Ethan interrupted. "What are you talking about?" "Serena, don't listen to him. It's just the Ryan family who likes to put on airs and has such snobbish views. The door of our Ethan family is open for you whenever you want to enter or leave. No, you've grown up in my family. Don't you know what kind of person my mother is? My mother has known that I like you for a long time." Suddenly hearing Ethan's words, I felt a bit stiff. How could such words be said so casually? I haven't dealt with the things between me and Ryan yet. How could I have the energy to think about these things? Fortunately, Julia quietly interrupted this chaotic situation. "Serena, Ryan and I came here today to ask you for a favor." Julia's hand was looped around Ryan's arm and the two of them looked like a loving newlywed couple. There was a bit of apology in Julia's eyes. "Serena, on the variety show, I don't know why you had such a big reaction, which made netizens curse me." There was a hint of blame in Julia's tone. Ryan also remembered the reason for coming to find me. Ryan said, "I'm going to post this video online and tell everyone that the reason I saved Julia was that she was my savior back then, so that it won't affect Julia's future career. She still wants to play the piano in the future, and her reputation can't be ruined." Before Ryan could finish speaking, I said coldly, "No." Ryan didn't understand. "Why can't you think about Julia?" My eyes were full of sarcasm. "Isn't it enough that you think about her for her? She wants to play the piano in the future. Don't I still have to be in the entertainment industry?" Ryan suddenly realized. "Are you threatening me?" I was a bit puzzled. "How did it come to the point of threatening?" Ryan said, "We've already got the marriage certificate. Don't worry. Even if you quit the entertainment industry, I'll support you." As long as you cooperate and make a statement, telling everyone that you jumped off the building because you accidentally slipped and it has nothing to do with Julia, that's okay. I looked up at Ryan as if trying to figure something out and deeply felt that his mind seemed to be as smooth as if there were no wrinkles at all. I smiled gently. Get out. Ethan immediately pushed Ryan and Julia out one by one with his hands, cursing at the same time, both of you, get out. I'll sever the relationship between Serena and you two on her behalf. Hurry up and get out. Closing the door, Ethan looked at me with evasive eyes. I was also silent and subconsciously ignored Ethan's behavior just now. I pretended to be casual and said, "It seems that I can be discharged from the hospital tomorrow." Ethan also pretended to be natural and said, "I'll take you home." The next day, Ethan and I encountered a group of reporters blocking our way in the hospital parking lot. Those reporters couldn't wait to shove the microphones into my mouth. "Serena, what do you want to say about Ryan's post today? Julia said that you're the mistress who got involved between Ryan and her and that you married Ryan by despicable means. Do you admit it? So was it really Julia who saved Ryan back then?" From the reporters' questions that came one after another, I pieced together the truth. Although I didn't agree to cooperate with Ryan and Julia to clarify things, Ryan still cut out parts of the video of me saving him back then and sent it out, telling everyone that it was Julia who had saved him at that time. And Julia also accepted an interview, saying that she and Ryan were first loves, but because of my interference back then, their sincere feelings were ruined. Overnight, public opinion reversed completely. Julia changed from the despised third party to the aggrieved first love. As for me, I changed from the victim to the scheming mistress. I stood there and looked at the camera. Even though I knew that Ryan didn't love me, I had never thought that after I lost a child because of Ryan, he still wouldn't let me go. He wanted me to be a stepping stone for his first love. Of course, I wouldn't agree to that. I had been prepared for this. Ethan protected me behind him. I said in a neither too loud nor too soft voice, "None of these are true." I pointed at the cameras in the reporter's hands and asked, "Is this a live broadcast across the whole network?" The reporter was stunned for a moment. Obviously, he didn't expect that I would ask such a question. He nodded. I took out my mobile phone from my bag and played a recording. "Serena, Ryan and I are here today to ask you for a favor." Julia's voice came from the mobile phone. Even Ethan was surprised and turned around to look at me. He didn't expect that I had recorded yesterday's conversation. I smiled bitterly in my heart. Did I really look so easy to bully before? In fact, it wasn't just yesterday's conversation that I had recorded. I even had the recording of when Julia found me and said scornfully that Ryan was someone she didn't want anymore. I had always hidden it deep in my mobile phone and hadn't planned to tell anyone. At that time, I always thought that Ryan would be sad if he heard it. I was afraid that Ryan would be sad, so I would rather be treated coldly by Ryan than tell the truth back then, but now I didn't care whether Ryan would be sad or not. I started from that fire back then and posted a piece of evidence on my account every time I told a part of the story. The live broadcast room at the scene was in an uproar. Passers-by, Ryan's fans, variety show fans, and my anti-fans almost crashed the live broadcast due to the overcrowding. Damn it. It was clearly Serena who saved Ryan back then, but Ryan and Julia, those shameless people, actually took credit for Serena's deeds. Julia looks gentle on the surface, but she turns out to be like this behind the scenes. How disgusting. Damn it, Serena must have suffered so many grievances over the years. My admiration for Ryan has been shattered. Isn't he just an arrogant and stupid scumbag, doing whatever he wants just because of his good looks? Unfollow +1. Ryan and Julia, who were watching the live broadcast, became restless, especially when they were happy that Julia's negative news had been cleared up. When Ryan saw me in the live broadcast room, he was originally a bit angry and was about to call me, but as I posted more and more things, Ryan became more and more silent. Especially when he heard Julia's mocking words, "Hey, Serena, do you want to wear the shoes that I don't want anymore?" Ryan almost crushed the armrest with his hand. His eyes were red, full of the sadness and anger of being betrayed that he turned his head to look at Julia and didn't say a word. Julia tried to laugh it off in a flustered manner. It's fake, Ryan. You know, Serena has liked to wrong me since she was a child. How could it be? I love you so much. Under Ryan's gaze, Julia's voice became smaller and smaller until she could hardly speak in the end. Ryan stood up and kicked over the table in front of him. With a loud bang, Ryan's voice was as cold as ice. Julia, I underestimated you. Julia tried to hold Ryan back in a panic, but Ryan pushed her away. This was the first time in so many years that Ryan showed his heartless side to Julia. Julia was extremely flustered. She returned to China and went back to Ryan because she had no better choice. The internet was also in chaos. After Ethan sent me home, the capable netizens had already dug up Julia's negative news. Julia is no pianist. She was a young delinquent who fell in love with a social youth in high school. The big fire they encountered at the banquet back then was actually caused by Julia, but she shifted the blame onto Lu Zhou instead. Lu Zhou was an outstanding young returnee. As soon as he opened his company, it received suppression from Julia's family and was forced to move to the United States. Julia didn't give up and chased him to the United States. She engaged in campus bullying there and even said that she touched drugs for inspiration. She couldn't survive abroad and Julia's family was afraid that she would die outside, so they forced her to return to China. As a result, when she came back to China and saw that Ryan was a famous actor, she clung to her former admirer again. Serena and Ryan were doing fine. They had been in love for 10 years. Serena was finally close to happiness, but then she lost her child and her fertility. Julia is really a troublemaker. With Julia's negative news being exposed, the stock prices of both Julia's family and Ryan's family dropped. The halo of Julia being a talented pianist disappeared. Because of her image problem, not only was she terminated by the cooperating brands, but she was also sued and required to compensate for the loss of reputation. Ryan's status in the entertainment industry plummeted. Due to the collapse of his public persona, a large number of fans unfollowed him, and Ryan hadn't appeared in public for a long time. The next time I heard about Julia was that Julia's mother sent Julia to a drug rehabilitation center to protect her. Julia's family went bankrupt directly within this month, and the one who bought Julia's family was actually Lu Zhou. Unfortunately, Lu Zhou wasn't a kind person. He still remembered the old grudge. Julia's parents were forced to jump off the building. Unfortunately, the drug rehabilitation center couldn't protect Julia's safety either. Lu Zhou set his sights on the drug rehabilitation center. Ryan's family also experienced a sharp drop in stock prices overnight. I had no choice but to find Ryan because I needed him to sign the divorce agreement. I then found that Ryan was terribly thin, almost just a skeleton. He hadn't shaved his beard and was lying in our former home, with cigarette butts and wine bottles scattered on the floor. I put the divorce agreement in front of him. Ryan grabbed my wrist. Ryan's voice sounded a bit aggrieved. Serena, don't you want me either? I pulled back my wrist and said in a calm voice, sign it. Ryan threw the pen to the ground like a child throwing a tantrum. I won't sign it. I quietly looked at Ryan. Ryan laughed at himself with red eyes. You're also laughing at me for being a fool, right? I was played around by Julia and couldn't see who really loved me. He hugged my waist and rubbed his face against my lower abdomen where I had an operation before, with a bit of heartache in his voice. Serena, did it hurt? Ryan's voice was full of apologies. I'm sorry. He kept apologizing with a sobbing tone in his voice. I'm sorry, Serena, I'm sorry. I didn't respond at all. Ryan broke down and shouted loudly. Why don't you respond to me? Why don't you blame me? Why don't you scold me? Serena, I don't want you to look at me indifferently like this. Ryan fell from the sofa to the ground, curled up into a ball on the ground and cried until he could hardly breathe. I stood up. It seems that you can't communicate today. I'll leave the divorce agreement on the table. You can sign it when you're ready, and I'll come to pick it up then. Ryan stared fixedly at my ankles. I walked to the door and paused. I turned around. I met Ryan's red, hopeful eyes. I smiled. Ryan, I don't blame you, and I don't hate you. I just want to leave you. Because I'm going to have my own new life. I closed the door, and Ryan's wailing voice came from inside. When I looked up again, I saw Ethan's aggrieved eyes. Ethan was like a aggrieved puppy waiting eagerly outside the door, and when he opened his mouth, there was a hint of jealousy in his tone. I was so afraid that you would turn back. Only then did I show a genuine smile. Ethan, my life only moves forward and never looks back.